Often I'll make something just for the sake of making it, not with the thought of like posting it or putting it out into the world, just because I need to get it out of my head. And that's the case with this film. I wasn't going to post it anywhere. I made it in January, but it could be interesting. Let's see what you think anyway. Don't go and buy Don't go and buy a Blackberry based off the back of this. As much as I love that little weird thing, it's incredibly redundant in 2025. So hopefully enjoy the film. Don't get a Blackberry. So I made a weird backstep in my technological advancement. I bought a Blackberry. Hello? No. That was 2006. They want the phone back. Why the absolute obsolete would I go and do that? Well, screen time is on the rise. It's way up, and that's because there are loads of fantastic things to do on your screens. So let's just keep looking at our little addiction boxes, and maybe we should do something about it actually. Enter the kind of dumb phone. Now I can't call it actually dumb because it does quite a bit more than your bog standard Nokia, but it's mostly abandoned, especially the obvious, the Blackberry stuff. That shit's dead. Blackberry's gone. So why a Blackberry then, of all things? There was basically one thing that led me to the Blackberry, and it was the thing that led so many others to it back in the day. That little keyboard. Not a big deal in the scheme of things. The on-screen keyboard has come a long way since Blackberries were the thing that everyone had. But not long before Blackberries came around, I used to use a PDA, a little Dell thing. I think it looked awesome, but the typing experience was so bad. You had to use the stylus or your fingernails, and it had to be super precise. There was no autocorrect or help with getting the right thing written down. You might remember T9 typing. Some people were quick, like I dated a girl in uni who was superhumanly quick at typing on a number pad. But it wasn't like it's not a comfortable thing to do, and there was no way you could get any meaningful writing work done with a number pad. So when Blackberry came along and gave us a more comfortable and controllable typing experience, it was pretty decent. One of my favourite phones I ever owned was a Nokia that ripped off the Blackberry form factor with the keyboard. It was a beautiful wedge of a thing, and I really enjoyed the typing experience on it. Legitimately getting proper work done requires a computer and a keyboard. Yeah, probably, but there are so many times when you can't use a computer with a keyboard. There's just nowhere to put it. There's nowhere to lean it down. Even a phone with a flip-out keyboard, there's no chance of finding somewhere to use that. And I'm not always going to have my laptop with me. Now, I've tried typing long form on my phone, but the lack of a physical response throws me off. It's a different experience on the Blackberry. It's not a stretch to imagine being able to completely touch type and just look at the words that you're writing. So even with an iPhone and the option of a fold-out keyboard, it just wouldn't fix my issues. My issue of needing to fill every second of time with something to stop myself being bored or, God forbid, unproductive. Even now, I'm waiting for the lift. I've been able to pull this out and write a paragraph. That is in the script. That's not what I'm doing now, obviously. And why is this important? I really want to become a better writer. A lot of the people I really admire, people on YouTube, people who make films, and they're writers. Linus Sebastian, LTT, Linus Tech Tips, is someone that I heard interviewed recently. He's not an author, but he is a writer. He writes the content. I don't want to write a book either. I just want to get comfortable with putting my ideas down, iterating on them. I recently listened to Linus interviewed on a podcast, and he laid out his rules for a good video. I don't think I can implement any of those rules if I'm just winging it. I think writing is the best way. For a while, I tried other things like voice memos, but then you've got bulky files to deal with compared to a text file written on a phone. And then there's also the next step of having to like listen through it again and transcribe it. And while going over your ideas is a good thing to do, it is a bit of a pain. It takes a lot longer, especially if you like leave it a long time between recording and transcribing. Any of those like gaps and breaks that you leave, you record a long file and you're thinking for a bit, big long gap. It's hard to like skim through those easily. I even tried to record like video clips on my little Sony Action Cam. It's got a huge memory card in it and a very forgiving codec when it comes to taking up space. But it still has the same issue as the voice memos. Even though I've got that visual cue to help me with like, oh, the guy on the screen is thinking now, I can skip ahead a little bit because he's probably not going to talk for a while. Even with that, transcription process takes a while. It's just something you can't get around. So it has to be the written word, which leaves me with two clear options. And to be upfront and to not, try and disguise this, paper is incredible. I use it all the time. And my notebook, it's kind of fancy. You can use it anywhere. It doesn't matter. You don't need any power. You don't need anything. You just need a pen and a scrap of paper. Like I say, mine's fancy, but that's not a prerequisite for being able to jot down some notes. It's just a case of finding a method of organization that works and a pen that you like, and you're off to the races. It does harbour the odd downside though. My method is a little bulky, but that's also because the organisation system that I've got there has other stuff in it. I've got a drawing book for sketching and a yearly planner. I have in the past just carried one of the little Paper Republic pocket notebooks, and way back in time I used to carry a Moleskin. They used to do a tiny little brown paper one, and in my pocket I've got like the pen that comes in the Swiss Army knife. It's tiny, but then you still have to go back and type that all up. And again, going back and rereading your notes is a great thing, but my handwriting makes doctors look like calligraphers. So it can be a little tough to go back through it sometimes. It's just not a fast experience. And then that brings us back to the Blackberry. I'm surprised at this as well, I genuinely love typing on this thing, and I really like how it's just all encompassed in that little screen and keyboard. I can have it in my pocket, I can pull it out, and I can be typing in seconds, as easily as typing on my phone, which is kind of obvious because it is a phone. I don't even need anywhere to rest it. The only problem I've come across is like if I'm laying in bed on my back, it's hard to do, but I just like flip over onto my side or whatever. It's got a super simple version of Microsoft Word built into it with some basic formatting tools, which I've actually started to find really useful. I thought I just wanted nothing. The typing app, the writing app that I use on my computers is iWriter, and it's just like the super minimal setup, white screen, text. You can't change any formatting really. But sometimes you do want to bold a title just for visual organization of your notes. Sometimes you want to put emphasis on a word and you just need to put it in italics. It is pretty useful, and the whole thing's pretty distraction free. And once I'm done with the writing, I just email it to myself and I can edit it on my computer without having to transcribe the whole thing, which is really handy for something like this where I wrote this whole script, not really had to let it touch a computer. The thing is, I haven't addressed the original premise of this video, which is too much time on screens. And if I'm typing on another screen, isn't that just as bad? Honestly, I really don't think it is. There's kind of good screen time and bad screen time. Doom scrolling through Instagram and TikTok is not going to progress your life. Whereas learning to write, organize your thoughts, get your ideas down, that's productive. And if you think about it, it's not necessarily the screen that is the bad thing. We've had screens for a long time. One of the things that people say about screens is it stops you from going to sleep. But I've fallen asleep in front of the TV enough times to know that that's not true. There's something about the activities we're doing on these screens. There's something about the way that TikTok and Instagram and YouTube engage your brain that keeps you from wanting to fall asleep. And this beautiful big screen on the phone makes it so much easier to get sucked into those things. It makes it the default. But sitting and typing on the Blackberry, there's only so much time. Let's not think about it in terms of time, but in mental energy. The mental energy to type, to create, is finite, and you're going to run out of it. And so you're only going to get through a certain amount of time on that tiny screen before you kind of have to stop. It's like reading a book. In bed, reading a book. There's only so much time you can do that for. So your body kind of just goes, this is a bit too much attention. Let's turn it off now. Let's stop this now. Let's go to sleep. So it's less about the screen, it's more about the activity. I don't think screen time is necessarily a problem, as long as it's not taking up every single part of your day. I think, but what do I know? So it's a little weird and dumb, but I really like this thing. And hopefully it'll get me writing more videos and organising my thoughts better. It already feels like it's helping. I've been journaling on it like every day. And a lot of the practices around journaling are like, right, when you get up, write this much, write 3 pages in the morning. That doesn't really work for me because one, the morning, what have I done already? Nothing. The evening, the time I'm thinking about it, I'm in bed. We don't really have like a desk set up. Well, I do have a desk set up at home, but there's not a desk set up that's like nice at home. So it's not like somewhere I really want to go and sit down and write. And so the time I'm thinking about it, it's just like points through the day. In the evening, once I've gone to bed, but then I'm not sitting and writing in bed. It's just awkward. The Blackberry is there for me all of those times. And so it ends up being far more useful, even though it's not as good as the other options. And that's why I've gone full hipster and I'm using a Blackberry. I hope that helps.